Hello, my name is Steve Herman, and I'm the author of Mediumship Mastery, the Ultimate Guide, which is my book on mediumship development, which is available on Amazon. And the whole purpose of this YouTube channel is mediumship training and mediumship development. Sometimes people get very discouraged because they've lost someone, the person is deceased in the world of the spirit, and they want to communicate with them. And they go from one medium to another medium, seeking that individual, hoping, praying that their loved one, that person dear to their heart comes through. Have you ever had that happen? I know in my own involvement, studying mediumship, working with mediumship, which is many decades now here in this physical world, in my physical life, there are quite a few people, and I'm around mediums all the time, very experienced mediums, student mediums, mediums of all shapes and sizes from all over the world. And oftentimes, some of these individuals I've never actually ever heard from. They've never come through. At the same time, there's certainly been enough cases where perhaps I've been in teaching one of my mediumship development workshops. Maybe I've been working with a student, and the student, who's a complete novice, might bring through someone very close to me from the spirit world. Not that I'm expecting that person, but will bring through that individual with quite evidential specific details so I can recognize who it is. So it's not like you can really call up the spirit people, can you? Well, you can ask them, and I would think, sure, you go to meet for a session, you go to a medium for a session, you really want to hear from your deceased father. Well, if the medium's really connected the right way, in theory, that medium, that individual, should be able to bring through your deceased father. And that happens. Someone will make an appointment. They really want to hear from their mother, their grandmother, their husband, and the individual will come right through. Now, there's a lot of other cases where the individual doesn't come through. Their aunt comes through, and they literally hated the lady's guts. So sometimes people will think, oh my gosh, if you're a medium, well, you're irresponsible. You can bring through anyone. Well, that's true to an extent, but it really isn't completely true either. Why? Because when we talk about spirit communications, it's not as if the medium sets the agenda. The spirit world sets the agenda. And just because someone's in the spirit world, they've kicked the bucket, they're there in the spirit world, that does not mean that they necessarily want to come through. It also doesn't mean they're necessarily able to come through or ready to come through. So you can't just call someone up. It doesn't matter what someone says. Oh, I'm such a wonderful medium, I can bring through anyone. Well, yeah, you can bring through anyone. If that person wants to come through, if they're permitted to come through by the higher spirits, and really if they're ready to come through, and if the conditions are the right way. Now, if you have really lousy conditions, doesn't matter who you are as a medium. You're going to be very limited if the energy isn't the right way. Remember, this is all mind-to-mind communication, and the conditions have to be there. I mean, you can have the best iPhone, the latest iPhone, very expensive technology, technically such a wonderful device for communication. Take it in the middle of nowhere. Is it going to work? No, it's not going to work. It's just like your computer. It works with Wi-Fi, but if there's no Wi-Fi signal where you're with your computer or you don't have the password, it's just not going to work. Mediumship's the same way. We're dealing with mind-to-mind communication. So certain spirits, if they're on the same wavelength as the medium, it's going to be easy for them to come through. Other spirits, may not be harmonious. Their chemistry may be different. They're not on the same page. Could the medium bring that individual through? Yeah, possibly. But possibly the fullness or completeness of the personality just won't be there to the same extent. So don't blame the medium. There's so much that goes into this. And oftentimes, of course, when people don't get what they want, who do they blame? They blame the medium. It's all the medium's fault. Well, yeah, the medium has to be tuned in the right way. The medium has to get their own mind out of the way, say things the right way, connect and link with the spirit world the right way. But again, the conditions have so much to do with it. And so if you want to hear from a specific person, realize some people are also just better at communicating. They're very extroverted. I know in my own experience, in Oftentimes in working with colleagues, other mediums, many times the people communicating from the spirit world previously worked as mediums when they were here. They were involved in psychic and mediumistic development. They studied and worked with it. They understand the process energetically. They're able to come through possibly a lot better than someone who's just closed off to it for one reason or another. Now, that doesn't mean that someone who, when they were here physically, who was closed off to mediumship, wouldn't be able to come through. They can come through, but they may not be as proficient as a communicator as someone else. You know, practice makes perfect. I'm very aware of individuals standing off to the side while I'm working, studying the process of spirit communication, maybe when I'm working with someone else, not connected to me, and not related or connected in any capacity to the person I'm working with. Why were those individuals there? Because they're learning the process. Oftentimes communicators have described to me how they had to rehearse coming through, how they had to learn coming through. So we can see that some individuals maybe put a little bit more energy into learning the process. And yes, we do have specialists, we have helpers who assist people coming through. But it's a very delicate process. And of course, we really have to think about, what is a person doing in the spirit world? You know, do they need healing? Are they working on things on a spiritual level? Someone has to go through the psychotherapy. They have to go through the healing process. They may not be in a place where they're really ready to come through, or they're really able to come through, depending upon the circumstances. So you can ask every single medium imaginable, and none of those mediums are going to be able to bring the person through. And certainly, if the higher spirits who set up, you know, they vet who comes through, they set up everything. If they really feel that it's in the greater interest of the recipient, perhaps to hear from somebody else than the individual they want to hear from, or maybe it's very, very, very important for a particular communicator to come through, well, the higher spirits will have that individual come through over the individual who the recipient may desire to hear from. So much goes into this. The spirit people, they're not at our beck and call. It just becomes this ego type of thing for the medium. You know, I'm such a wonderful medium. I can bring through such fantastic evidence. Well, yeah, you can bring through evidence if they give it to you. You can be a very, very, very good medium. But those people in the spirit world, generally speaking, they want to communicate. They care about us. They're concerned with our development, and they'll do whatever it takes to be able to come through. But you go to a medium, just realized so much has gone into the process of making that communication take place. I remember there was this one lady, this is years ago, she was in the Boston, Massachusetts area. She taught astrology, she taught psychic development classes in her home. She sponsored mediums. I remember one time I went to her house on a Saturday and did readings all day. You know, she set up the mediumship sessions for me. She'd have different mediums from the UK come over, and she'd do the same thing with them. So she had sessions with all these prominent mediums every other week. I mean, she was very involved in spiritualism. And I remember one time at this one spiritualist church I was working, I did the service as the guest medium that Sunday, many years ago, many decades ago, and her father came through, who she recognized, and she understood the guidance that he was coming through with. She could recognize the evidential details that he brought through and conveyed to me. He had been in the spirit world 41 years. Now, why did it take 41 years to communicate with her? I have absolutely no idea. There's a lot of different reasons for that. And ultimately, if someone doesn't want to come through, you cannot twist their arm. Well, you can try. You cannot twist their arm and make them come through. It's just not how it works. Go to a medium, expect good, and realize that the higher spirits who orchestrate everything have your highest interests, your best interests, greatest interests in mind. Mediumship is fantastic. Well, I hope that this has given you some ideas to think about. So next time you go to a medium and they didn't bring through your mother, don't demand your money back. Because I guarantee you, it probably doesn't have to do with the medium's insufficient training or lack of skill. or lack of sincerity. There's so many different factors that each particular situation may be very different. Well, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to write below. Please like this video. Please smack the subscribe button below. Please subscribe. And I teach a lot of different workshops, both online and in person, for mediumship development. And I do a lot of individualized training and mentoring as well. I'm really into helping people with their growth. And certainly if you have any questions about mediumship, feel free to get hold of me. So thank you very much, and God bless you.